I'm gonna bust it. 3 5.
That's 11.
You gonna be 8 and I'm gonna scan your.
Lil Jeff was not just talking tough in his songs. He was really out in the streets, making sure his words had real meaning. He did not just say things for no reason. He wanted people to know that he was fearless and dangerous. He kept count of the people he went after, and he had no problem telling the world about it. He was not the kind of person who waited for trouble to come to him. He went looking for it. From hiding in the grass to attack someone by surprise to chasing an enemy all the way into their own home, Lil Jeff showed that he had no fear. But when someone moves like that, there is always a risk. The question was he taking on more than he could handle? When Z Money was killed, it was not just another loss. It hurt Lil Jeff in a deep way. Z Money had always protected him, especially after his older brother, J Boogie, was sent to prison. Losing Z Money left a pain in his heart that nothing could fix except revenge. For Lil Jeff and the Bloodhounds, there was only one way to deal with the pain, and that was to get back at the people who took Z Money's life. But his death did more than just bring sadness. It also destroyed the friendship between Trap City and Drill City, turning people who were once allies into enemies. Just when things seemed to be calming down, rumors started spreading on the internet, especially on Reddit. People were saying that Z Money had been betrayed by his own friends from Trap City. If that was true, then the battle Lil Jeff was fighting was even bigger than he thought. People on the street were talking. Lil Jeff was not at peace. He was angry, and he wanted revenge. He was not someone who acted without a plan. He always knew who his next target was. This time, it was Lil Pooh, a Trap City member who had been making fun of Z Money after he was gone. Lil Pooh was walking around like nothing had happened. He was going to familiar places, acting like everything was normal. But in the streets, names travel fast, and his name was being whispered everywhere. Lil Jeff was never in a hurry. He knew how to wait. He always let his targets feel safe before making his move. April 9th, 2023, was the day Lil Jeff and the Bloodhounds decided that Lil Pooh would not see another summer. But Jeff was not careless. He did not just run up to Lil Pooh and start shooting. Instead, he waited for him outside his home, like a hunter waiting for his prey. When Lil Pooh came back home to rest, Lil Jeff made sure he never woke up again. The Chicago Police Department later reported that gunshots were heard at around 11:30 p.m. in the 1800 block of 223rd Street. When officers arrived, they found a young man lying lifeless in the front yard of his home. He had been shot many times. The victim was later identified as Pierre Boozer Jr. No one in the neighborhood told the police anything, but on the streets, everyone already knew who was behind it. Lil Jeff wanted to send a clear message. He recorded a song where he hinted at what he had done. People said that Lil Jeff never released the song because he wanted to respect one of his close friends. But when someone posted a picture of Lil Pooh, Jeff did not stay silent. He made it clear, no one could disrespect Z Money and get away with it. Z Money was more than a friend to Lil Jeff. He was like a big brother. He protected Jeff and showed him how to survive in the streets. That is why his death on March 16, 2023, changed everything. Reports said that Z Money was sitting in his car on the 1300 block of East 79th Street near Avalon Park when a car pulled up and started shooting. He was taken to the University of Chicago Medical Center, but he did not survive. For Lil Jeff, this was not just about getting revenge. He had already punished the people responsible for Z Money's death, but now he wanted more. He had seen blood, and he was not ready to stop. One of the most shocking moments in recent times was the tragic killing of Beacon, Lil Rob, and Monty. What made it even more disturbing was that the entire incident was caught on camera. It all happened just outside Innovations High School in downtown Chicago, near Washington Street and Wabash Avenue. The area was busy, with people walking around, unaware of the violence that was about to unfold. It was around 12:30 in the afternoon, and Lil Rob and Monty were heading out for lunch. The streets were filled with students, workers, and passers-by. It was broad daylight, and everything seemed normal. But just as the two stepped outside the school, things took a deadly turn. Out of nowhere, two vehicles suddenly appeared. Nobody had time to react before chaos erupted. Armed men jumped out of the cars and, without hesitation, started shooting. The sudden attack happened so fast that people barely had time to understand what was going on. The sound of gunfire echoed through the streets, sending people running for cover. The whole city was left in shock as news spread about the brutal attack. According to CBS News, the shooting took place just a few steps from the street, right next to an elevator structure. The violence happened in a public area, in front of many witnesses, and was fully captured by security cameras. The chilling footage gave a clear picture of how it all happened. The video showed Lil Rob and Monty walking toward the elevator, unaware of the danger that was seconds away from reaching them. They were just going about their day, likely talking about something normal, with no idea that their lives were about to end. If you pay close attention to the right side of the screen, you can see a dark-colored SUV slowly driving out from under the train tracks. The car does not look suspicious at first, but then it suddenly stops. A few seconds later, a man jumps out of the vehicle. There is no hesitation in his movements. He already knows exactly what he came to do. Without saying a single word, the shooter rushes toward Lil Rob and Monty and immediately opens fire. The boys barely have a moment to react before bullets start flying. In the blink of an eye, what was supposed to be a simple lunch break turns into a deadly ambush. The gunfire causes panic in the area. People who were nearby start screaming and running in different directions, trying to get away from the danger. Some duck behind cars, while others rush into nearby stores for safety. But for Lil Rob and Monty, there was no escape. The bullets found their targets, and within moments, both of them collapsed to the ground. Even though it all happened quickly, the damage was done. The shooters did not stay for long. As soon as they were sure their targets were down, they jumped back into the cars and sped away, disappearing into the busy streets of Chicago. The surveillance footage that captured the entire scene would later become crucial evidence in the investigation. It provided a clear look at how the attack was carried out and gave law enforcement some leads on who might be responsible. However, at that moment, all anyone could think about was the heartbreaking loss of 2 young lives. Lil Rob and Monty were gone, taken in the blink of an eye in a way that left the entire community shaken. Their friends and families were devastated, struggling to understand why this had happened. The streets of Chicago had seen violence before, but this attack felt different. It was bold, reckless, and completely heartless. As the city tried to make sense of the tragedy, many people started asking questions. Who planned the attack? Why were Lil Rob and Monty targeted? Was this part of an ongoing conflict, or was it something else? Police launched a full investigation, but in the world of street violence, getting answers was never easy. One thing was clear, this was not a random act. The shooters knew exactly who they were looking for. They had planned everything carefully, waiting for the right moment to strike. The fact that they carried out the attack in such a public place, in broad daylight, showed just how fearless they were. In the days following the shooting, the news spread like wildfire. Social media was flooded with reactions, with people expressing their shock, sadness, and anger. Some called for justice, while others pointed out that this was just another example of the cycle of violence that had taken over the streets. It was a harsh reminder of how dangerous life could be for those involved in these conflicts. One day you were walking down the street, thinking about lunch, and the next moment, your life was over. There were no second chances. The city of Chicago had seen too many young lives lost to gun violence, but each new tragedy still hit hard. Lil Rob and Monty became the latest names added to a long list of victims. Their story, captured in those chilling surveillance videos, would serve as yet another example of how quickly everything could change. Now, all that was left were memories, unanswered questions, and the search for justice. The moment the bullets hit, the shooter did not waste a second. He quickly ran back to the car, and the SUV sped away, heading toward Wabash and south. Then, it turned left on Madison and disappeared into the busy streets. Even though the camera captured only one car arriving for the attack, CPD Deputy Chief John later confirmed that there were actually 2 vehicles involved. Both cars pulled up, and several shots were fired at a group of teenage boys, leaving the scene in complete chaos. CPD later identified the victims as 16-year-old Robert Boston and 17-year-old Monterey Williams. The attack was planned, quick, and terrifying. Witnesses said they heard between 10 to 15 gunshots, and within seconds, the shooters were gone. A local shopkeeper, Mohammed Ashik, described how it sounded. It was like a firecracker, you know? Like something exploding. 10, 15 shots. This suggested that at least one of the shooters had a pistol with a switch, making it fire rapidly like an automatic weapon. Ashik said he quickly ducked for cover as bullets flew through the air. The scene afterward was heartbreaking. People were looking around, crying. Even kids were crying, he said. Another witness, a woman who was walking to her studio, said she was almost hit by a bullet. She showed reporters the hole in her coat. It went through my arm, just passing by. I feel super anxious and sad. I was afraid it could have hit me. Most witnesses said the attack was an ambush. The Chicago Police Department immediately started an investigation to find out why it happened and who was responsible. It was a brutal killing, and many in the city were mourning. However, not everyone was sad. Shortly after the shooting, the mastermind behind it could not stop himself from bragging. Lil Jeff went live on Instagram, dropping hints that he had just taken 2 more lives. If I get mad enough, things start happening. You all know this by now. I went for like a week and poof, had to go. After that, poof, I came back. Poof. Some people believed he was talking about his stolen watches. He had been angry and upset about losing them, and when he could not hold it in any longer, he snapped. But many pointed out that he had just told on himself. People immediately asked why he was not arrested. One person online said, "How did he not get locked up for this?" Someone else had an answer. "The feds will let you think you got away with it. They let your money build up, just like your case. They will get you when the time is right. A simple murder charge does not pay them like a RICO or drug case does, so they wait." The attack was so brutal that many people in the drill music scene wondered why Lil Jeff went after Lil Rob and Monty with so much focus. The reason was simple, it was personal. Some time ago, Lil Rob and Monty had allegedly robbed Lil Jeff of his jewelry. But they did not stop there. They started mocking him online, posting videos and making fun of him. They bragged about what they had taken and even claimed that the jewelry was fake. "You got like 50K? Damn," they laughed, showing off 2 watches they had stolen. However, one of those watches turned out to be fake. A Reddit user noticed that the watch had a GLD logo on the clasp. That meant it came from an online jewelry store that sells gold-plated, fake jewelry. When the news spread, Lil Jeff quickly went on Instagram Live to clear the air. He insisted that nobody had taken anything from him by force. "They just wanted to take a look and ran off when I was not noticing," he said. "On my dead grand, if I am lying, I am down. God can pull me out of this car right now. Never took a dollar from nothing." They said, "Let me take a picture, this, that, and that." I looked up, and they were gone. Shortly after, a YouTuber named Word from the Trenches featured Monty and some BKM members on a vlog. In the video, they kept showing off the stolen watches and bragging about how they took them. During the vlog, Monty even FaceTimed Lil Jeff. In a heated exchange, Monty taunted him, asking, "Where's the J at?" Meaning, where is the stolen jewelry? He then held up the watch to the camera, making fun of Lil Jeff once again. Throughout the video, the BKM crew kept disrespecting Lil Jeff and the entire Bloodhounds. But Lil Jeff was not the kind of person to forget things like that. Almost a year later, the Chicago Police Department made a big breakthrough in their investigation. The first suspect was identified as Tommy Coleman, a known associate of Lil Jeff and the Bloodhounds. He was arrested on the 5700 block of North Mason and charged with 2 counts of murder. Then, earlier this year, the police arrested a second suspect as the case continued to unfold. The attack was so brutal that many people in the drill music scene wondered why Lil Jeff went after Lil Rob and Monty with so much focus. The reason was simple, it was personal. Some time ago, Lil Rob and Monty had allegedly robbed Lil Jeff of his jewelry. But they did not stop there. They went online and made fun of him. They posted videos, laughed at him, and bragged about what they had taken. They even said the jewelry was fake. You got like 50K? Damn, they mocked, flashing 2 watches they had stolen. But then something surprising happened. A Reddit user noticed that one of the watches had a GLD logo on the clasp. This meant it was from an online store that sells fake, gold-plated jewelry. When people started talking about this, Lil Jeff quickly went on Instagram Live to clear things up. He said nobody had taken anything from him by force. They only wanted to look at it and ran off when I was not paying attention, he said. On my dead grand, if I am lying, I am down. God can pull me out of this car right now. Never took $1 from nothing. They said, let me take a picture, this, that, and that. I looked up, and they were gone. Not long after, a YouTuber named Word from the Trenches made a vlog featuring Monty and some BKM members. In the video, they kept showing off the stolen watches and bragging about how they took them. At one point, Monty even FaceTimed Lil Jeff. He laughed at him, saying, "Where's the J at?" asking about the stolen jewelry before holding the watch up to the camera to make fun of him again. The BKM crew spent the entire vlog disrespecting Lil Jeff and his gang, the Bloodhounds. But Lil Jeff was not the type of person to forget something like that. In the streets, there were usually only 2 endings. Either you ended up dead, or you ended up behind bars. That was the reality for people caught up in that lifestyle, but this case left one big mystery hanging in the air. If Rob was not the shooter, then who was? One user on Reddit shared their thoughts, saying, Rob did not pull the trigger. The real shooter? We will probably never know because they are staying low and not claiming it. And that was the end of it. The police dropped the murder charge, but the truth about what really happened that day might never be fully known. The person who actually pulled the trigger was still out there, but if they were smart, they would keep quiet. And in the streets, silence often spoke louder than anything else. As soon as people heard this, one fan made a comment that got a lot of attention. He killed Lil Jeff. Now he got by Big Rob. It was meant as a joke, but it showed something serious. In the world of gangs, there are only 2 ways out, jail or death, but this left a big question. If the police dropped the murder charge against Rob, then who was the real shooter? One Reddit user summed it up perfectly. Rob did not pull the trigger. The real shooter? We will probably never know because they are staying quiet and not saying anything. And just like that, the mystery remained unsolved.